What's up, you guys? It's Levi here. Welcome to the Cybersecurity Education Channel. Holy smokers, guys, my face is burning red, and we got some burning topics to talk about in August of 2019. Today I'll be talking about my top 3 ransomware cases in August of 2019. Alright, so we've done this the last 2 months, and it's been a real big hit with you guys, so I'm going to keep doing this as long as there's ransomware every month. Hopefully I don't have to do these videos anymore. The ransomware will go away, but it's not likely. Ransomware is on the rise. So I'm coming out with these videos because I want to get you guys to realize how prevalent ransomware is, and I want you guys to be able to learn from all these situations. So as usual, we'll be talking about what happened in each one of these ransomware cases. I'll be giving you my thoughts on the ransomware cases, and I'll be giving you guys, most importantly, what to learn in these ransomware cases. The cases that we'll be talking about this month are 22 Texas municipalities that got hit, 400 dental clinics that were hit with ransomware, and then a potential ransomware case at Regis University. It wasn't confirmed, but it sure looks like it's ransomware, so we'll be talking about it. Alright, so the first case I'll talk about is the 22 Texas municipalities that got hit. I already did a video on this previously in the month, so I'll put a card up above so you guys can check that out to get all the details about this. Basically, this case was big enough, though, I wanted to include it in this August 2019 video because it was one of the biggest ransomware cases of August of 2019. So I'll be giving you some brief information about the case, and then I'll be giving you a status update on the case from when I last posted the video. Alright, so the case happened on August 11th of 2019. That's when these municipalities started getting hit. It was a coordinated effort to where all these municipalities were all hit by one group all at once. In the previous video I talked about, there was a security researcher that said that this was a very unique situation that they had never seen before. So this is definitely unique to have 22 municipalities all hit by the same organization or person. And these municipalities were thought to be hit by ransomware with a MSP, or a managed service provider. For those of you that don't know what a managed service provider is, they basically contract their outside IT firms that contract with the cities to be able to provide IT services for those cities, because most of those cities were small cities and they couldn't afford to have an IT staff, or they couldn't bring in the expertise that they needed to be able to do all the different IT things that they needed to do. So they hired a managed service provider to do it for them. That managed service provider then installs clients on all their machines so that they can remote in and do what they need to do. So yeah, a managed service provider was hit with ransomware, and then it ended up hitting these 22 Texas municipalities. In the previous video, I talked about 2 municipalities that got hit, Borger and Keene. There's 3 more that came out and talked about how they got hit. And all the information from these cities that I'm talking about will be in an ARS Technica article that I'll post in the description below. So if you want to read more about this, you can check it out. The first municipality that came out with more information was the municipality of Lubbock. They basically said they caught the ransomware right away and they were able to isolate it, and it didn't affect any of their systems. So that's really good. The other two places weren't so lucky. Kaufman, the ransomware hit all of their stuff and took all their stuff down except the police and fire network. So their payment and payment processing, so people can't pay their water bills, electric bills, things like that. Terrible thing once again, such a downside of ransomware. You can't pay your utility bills. We've seen this before. Terrible thing for the people involved. Well, not really, but it's too bad after the ransomware you still have to pay it. You still have to pay that stuff, right? So yeah, that was kind of a bad thing. Kaufman got hit pretty hard, and then Wilmer, a city of 3,600 people in North Texas, got hit even harder. They had their entire network taken down, including their water, their police, their library. Crazy. It even affected the library. people will have to read the physical books now, but the only problem is they won't be able to check them out because they don't have a computer, so somebody might have to actually write down who's checking out what.
Oh my gosh, can people do that anymore?
So yeah, this situation is really bad. I mean, it's affected 22 Texas municipalities. Fortunately for the municipality of Lubbock, they're pretty lucky. It didn't spread very far. It didn't spread and they didn't have any systems affected, so that's pretty good for them. But for these other cities here, they're not so lucky, you know, having all of your stuff down except for police and fire, and then having all of your stuff down is not a good thing. So going back to the MSPs here, what I actually think happened in this situation, there hasn't been any more details given out, is I think the managed service provider, their clients on those systems, they either didn't update the software that they're using for their clients and the ransomware was able to attack vulnerabilities in that client, or the ransomware or the service provider themselves had ransomware in their network, and then because those clients or they had a network connected to the other networks, it was able to infiltrate into those other networks. So things that we can learn from this situation, be careful who you're picking for your managed service provider. When you pick a managed service provider, if you have one already, you want to make sure to ask them what they're doing for their cybersecurity practices to help protect their clients. And then you might want to go and check reviews on them with other people to make sure that they're a reputable managed service provider and they know what they're doing. Because if you don't, you can run into situations like this, you know, and then make sure that your managed service provider is updating the clients on their systems so that they can't get attacked with ransomware or viruses and things like that. And then do the things that I've talked about in the previous videos, you know, make sure that you have good backups, make sure you're following the 3-2-1 backup strategy. I have a video up here if you're not sure what that is that will help describe it. And then make sure that you're keeping your hardware and software up to date. The one final point I want to talk about before we move on to the next incident is the majority of these municipalities that were affected were small, tiny little cities, under 5,000 people, that probably didn't think that they would be at a risk for anything like this because they're a small city, right? I'm from a small city, and I know that that's the mentality from people that I know there. I've heard several people that say, well, this will never happen to me because I live in a small city and nobody would ever attack me. Well, the thing is that I want you guys to remember is that if you're connected to the internet, it doesn't matter where you're at in the world. You are part of this one global giant network, and anybody from the world can go and attack you. So don't get that small city mindset. You can be attacked from anywhere. You might even get attacked by somebody smashing that like button. The next incident we're going to be talking about is the 400 dental clinics that were hit with ransomware. My sources come from CNN and ZDNet. I'll post the links down below in the description if you want to see more. This incident happened in the last week of August of 2019. Basically what happened is there's two vendors that specialize in medical records backups for dental clinics, Digital Dental Record and Persoft. They were hit with ransomware in their software, and because the ransomware hit those backups, it replicated to 400 dental clinics that were synchronizing with that backup software. Because the ransomware spread to these dental clinics, it took the patient info down at these dental clinics, and the dental clinics were unable to view the patient info, which is a bad thing because if you're running a clinic, you need to be able to see that information to do your work correctly on people, right? These two companies ended up paying the ransom, and they started sending the decryption key to the 400 dental clinics. On August 2019, 100 of the clinics were restored, but it was 4 or 5 days after the clinics got ransomware, so it was a big deal. It caused problems for a lot of the dental clinics because they weren't able to have patients come in. There was a quote from Paul Levine, that is a dentist that has a private practice near Milwaukee. He basically said, it has a devastating effect on our office. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, until this morning, when they got us up and running, we were not able to see half of our patients because we were handicapped for taking x-rays. You can't see an emergency patient without an x-ray. You can't see a new patient without x-rays. So you guys can see how big of a deal this is, having 400 clinics that were in a similar situation. If only 100 of them were restored by August 29th, that means that a bunch of other clinics are running into the situation where they can't see patients, which is a bad thing for business, right? If you can't see patients, you can't make money. So what are my thoughts on this situation? Well, the first thing is, I think it's very ironic that this is a data backup solution for the patient records, and the very solution that they need to recover from their ransomware is a solution that's giving them the ransomware and shutting down their business. So that's definitely an interesting thing. I find it that if this, since this is a backup solution, why did these vendors have to pay the ransom? Why couldn't they just restore from an offline backup that we've talked about previously? Maybe they're not really the best backup experts in the world, which brings me to another point. In the previous video we talked about a managed service provider causing issues for those 22 Texas cities. Well, this is a managed service provider that provides backup services, and obviously they aren't doing something right because they don't have backups to restore from when they've gotten hit with ransomware. So make sure that your managed service provider is doing things to protect themselves and you from cybersecurity incidents. A lot of the attacks that we've been talking about have been going on in government and education, so this is a healthcare case for you guys to relate to. It can happen in the healthcare sector as well. And then, make sure that you're vetting your managed service providers. Obviously in this case, just because they were good at backup doesn't mean that they're good at backup security, right? And if you're not good at backup security and you get hit by ransomware, your backup service is pretty useless, isn't it? All right, so the last and final case that I'm going to be talking about is Regis University. It's a potential ransomware case. It hasn't been confirmed yet whether it's actually ransomware, but all the signs point towards that it's a ransomware case. The source for this information is coming from the Denver Post. I'll post a link down below in the description so you guys can check that out if you want to. But basically, August 23rd, the university reported that all systems were being taken down, including their phone system, their email system, their online grading system and learning management system, and their website. I apologize if the camera was unfocused. It for some reason got fuzzy, so hopefully it's fine now. They had a forensics team confirm with them that they had a malicious threat from an outside organization, so they're shutting down all their system as a precaution. Well, so that was on August 23rd. August 26th, the 2,000 undergrads that they had started their new classes, and almost everything was still mostly down for them. So it's kind of chaotic for them. They got the new students coming down, and everything is so dependent on technology, and they're not able to use any of that technology. So it's pretty interesting for these new students. The next day, August 27th, 6 days after they had shut everything down, IT visited faculty and staff computers to scan, install safeguards, and monitor those computers. Those computers weren't allowed to be turned back on. And then the students were told that they should not be accessing Microsoft Office or OneDrive. So any of the collaboration tools that students are able to use that are external outside of the university, they're not able to use those either. August 29th, 2 days later, students were allowed to use their personal devices on the Wi-Fi, but any university computers or devices weren't allowed to be connected to the Wi-Fi. And it was reported that 3 of the systems had live malware on them, and they had disruptive software. So a very, very interesting situation because college is starting and all these technology resources are down. So students have to do things by paper and things like that. If you check out the article, it talks more about that. It's very interesting. They had to have their class schedules printed out on paper because they can't use the computers. But in my personal opinion, I definitely think that there's probably a ransomware situation going on here. My guess is the ransomware hit these 3 systems that they found so far, and they're trying to contain that ransomware so it doesn't spread out to the rest of the systems. And by shutting down all of the systems and taking them off the network, they're able to contain that, do their investigation, and hopefully get rid of the machines that have ransomware on it, so that they don't get in a situation where they're down even longer trying to restore from backups that they potentially might not even have, or have to pay the ransom, or have to set everything back up. So honestly, taking down their network in this situation, if they're confident that they have ransomware, is probably a better option than getting the ransomware spread out. If I were to guess what caused the ransomware, my guess would be phishing, or somebody downloaded a file that infected their system, and then it probably started moving on to other systems, and the university must have had like some type of system information event management software where they could see possibly things that look like ransomware, and that's when they decided to pull the switch and save themselves. So what can be done to avoid this situation? Obviously, in this situation, they had some type of monitoring solution that they could kill everything before it became a problem. So that's one solution I haven't mentioned before. If you're in an organization, you're in an IT department, or you're making decisions for an IT department or giving funding to an IT department, you might want to see if they have a SIEM, a system information event management system, so that they can look for trends of potential ransomware that are coming up, and then, you know, having good antivirus that, you know, maybe in this situation the antivirus detected it but couldn't remove it, but it might have notified somebody in IT that, hey, we need to look into this. So that's one solution I haven't mentioned in videos before. The other solutions, of course, are having good backups, following the 3-2-1 backup strategy. Employee training is definitely big, especially in universities, student training even, if possible. And then obviously keeping your systems and software up to date. So yeah, this is definitely one of the more interesting situations. I don't know that I've seen a situation where a college has shut down all of their stuff to try to save their information and save their computers from getting ransomware. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out, if they actually had ransomware or not, but I'm pretty sure this is a ransomware case. So yeah, those are all the ransomware cases that have happened this month. Hope you guys really enjoyed this content. If you like this content, go ahead and smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. It helps promote me up in the YouTube algorithm so that I can get this information out to more and more people, and more people will learn and hopefully prevent themselves from getting ransomware. So make sure that you take those actions and help get this content out to help other people. So thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.